Good morning and welcome to the Athletic NBA Daily. Coming up, oh my goodness, one of the greatest games in NBA history just went down. The Pacers pulled off the improbable again. We've got Andrew Claudio of Knicks Film School here, and it's a safe space. Knicks fans, let's talk about it. It was 113 to 98 with 4 minutes and 54 seconds left. Now, Andrew, I thought we were going to come in here, talk about Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, both of them being dominant. They combined for 78 points in this one, or the Mitchell Robinson effect, rebounding, the size advantage that the Knicks had in this one, or the wing trio of OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges. They were all great. But, Andrew, we have to start with 4 minutes and 54 seconds left in this game. The Knicks were up 15. Aaron Nesmith hit 6 threes. 16. It felt like 16 threes, honestly, at this point. Why were they playing drop, Andrew? I have no idea. He also buried 2 clutch free throws. The Knicks cut the lead to 1. OG Anunoby went to the line, split a pair of free throws. And then Tyrese Haliburton has the ball in a clutch situation, and we've seen what has happened over the last couple of weeks when Tyrese Haliburton has the ball in a clutch situation. He hits a clutch shot, does the Reggie Miller choke reenactment, which I'm sure was great for you to watch, and the toe was on the line. Kevin Durant is somewhere yelling that the toe was on the line. The Knicks still have a chance in this game. We go to overtime. The Pacers end up pulling it out in overtime. And I have some stats, and I don't mean to do insult to injury here, but we have to hear the stats because it truly is incredible, okay? My good friend Kirthika, she pulled this up. NBA teams were 0-970 when down by 14 or more points in the final 2 minutes and 50 seconds of regulation in the playoffs over the last 27 postseasons. Andrew, they are now 1-970. Since 1997-1998, teams are 4-1,649 when trailing by 7+ in the final minute of the fourth quarter and overtime. The Pacers account for 3 of those wins, all in these playoffs. They had, the Knicks, a 99.7% win probability at some point in this game. And I say all of that. I give you this big spiel because I want to say I'm sorry to your beloved Knicks that were on the bad end of one of the greatest basketball games I've ever watched as an impartial fan. So I say all that to say, how are you doing?
Well, let's start here. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Mr. Schlecht behind the glass, thank you for the invitation tonight.
Yeah.
Never thought that when I'd be honored to make my first appearance to the Athletic NBA show, non-Trade-a-Palooza edition,
right?
That it would be after the worst loss in Knicks history. And I don't think I've found one yet in my memory bank that has felt like this as a fan. I'm 37, going to be 37 years old, so I don't have a fond memory, or even not fond memory, a memory of the Ewing finger roll, also against the Pacers. If I were to go to many a Knick fan, they would say that the finger roll game or Reggie Miller 8 points in 8.9 seconds would be their 2. The solace I've been trying to make work is that the game in which Reggie Miller put up the choke sign, they lost that series. A lot of people don't remember that. That was game 5. They then blew a game 6 in Indiana.
Yep.
In which Reggie missed 2 big free throws down the stretch. Mm-hmm. John Starks had a very big game to force a game 7 in which the Knicks won and went to the finals. And this basketball team that has had so many ups and downs during a season that we thought we were resigned to how the season would end. This would be a team that gets the 3 seed, hopefully gets to the second round against a tough Detroit team.
Yeah.
It goes out in a gentleman's sweep against the defending champs, and then we look for a new head coach. Gives us this moment, this feeling over the past 4 days here in the Big Apple that I don't think any of us have ever felt like any time the Knicks have prospered in their franchise history, it's coincided with a hint of an expectation, especially when you factor in the underdog that they were, plus 1,000 going into the series against the Celtics.
Yeah.
So you show up for this series not just having overcome all that, put a lot of doubt from a lot of people in the past, one of the most raucous environments in Game 5, and you kind of recreate it in that fourth quarter when you go on a 14-0 run after Jalen Brunson picks up his 5th foul. I didn't think his process was great when he came back in, but I do understand Brunson in crunch time being like, they can't guard me. The guy was 13 of 18 from 2-point range tonight, had 43 points.
Yeah.
They don't have an answer for Jalen Brunson. And the 14-point lead that you had at 116-102, they call a timeout. Carlisle called a very smart timeout to freeze Brunson before the second free throw. He misses it, and then the Nesmith onslaught happens. And if you look at the anatomy of a collapse, so many things have to go wrong to blow a 14-point lead in a couple of minutes.
It has to be perfect from the other side. Yeah.
So it's like Nesmith has to have the heater of all heaters. Mm-hmm. OG Anunoby has to have 2 turnovers. Jalen Brunson has to miss. He obviously missed the first free throw. Jalen Brunson also has to inexplicably pass the ball to OG when running the ball out, like literally run the clock out, run the ball, run around. You're the point guard. And you add in a missed Karl Anthony Towns free throw, a missed OG Anunoby free throw, and that's history. And you add in the insult to injury that Haliburton, I know his foot was on the line, but the Kawhi bounce that ends up happening.
Goodness. Yes. Yeah.
Look, last year they were up 6 with 30 seconds left against the Sixers in Game 5. Mm-hmm. And Tyrese Maxey went on a 7-1 run by himself.
Right.
Over that stretch.
That was also a crazy series. I mean, that
was at least Game 5, and you let the Sixers back into it, and that felt like pulling teeth the whole time. The Knicks were 3 minutes away from celebrating a Game 1 victory in which so much good could be taken out of it. What you're getting from your 2 bench players, Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride. I mean, you said you thought OG played well tonight. I thought this was one of OG's worst games, especially when you're looking at the offensive and defensive process, how late he was on a lot of these coverages, those Nesmith threes. Is a very
they're playing
drop,
point.
But how about you don't drop so far when they're clearly going to shoot threes?
Yeah.
I thought they took 5. Go ahead. Sorry.
They played perfectly up until that moment.
They played well enough to win a double-digit game.
Yes.
And it's what I'm trying to wrestle with here because respect to the Pacers for the unreal comeback, the scorching hot shooting to come back and tie the game and send it to overtime and then win it. The Knicks collapsed. Yeah. I'm not trying to take away anything from the Pacers and coming back and stealing this one. Again, the turnover, the miss, the all the different things, the blown coverage, the not getting up on 3.
Yeah.
The Knicks collapsed here. Yeah. And as I started this, it's the worst loss, and it's going to have to become an irrelevant loss. Like the Knicks are going to have to now rebound and make it an irrelevant loss.
Yeah.
5 years in the making, you're building for this after Leon Rose got here. And if this team loses this series and then doesn't make a finals, we'll be thinking about Game 1 forever. And it's the reality I think a lot of Knicks fans are living with today.
Yeah, that is the somber note of this game from the Knicks perspective. And honestly, like how can you look at this? And I think there is a way to look at this and say there is a positive outlook moving forward for the Knicks, just because.
Please find it. S. I'd love to find it.
For 40 minutes, they played a very, very good basketball game. And there were a lot of great takeaways from the Knicks side. That's positive. I mean, the Pacers are just relentless. They are, a lot of people have called it voodoo magic, what they've been doing. And to your point about the comebacks and the collapses, yeah, you do need things to go your way in a major way. I'm thinking about the Bucks game where the Pacers came back and Haliburton hit that game-winning layup. I mean, Gary Trent Jr. turned the ball over a couple times. They had a collapse, if you will. Thinking about the Cavs situation, and the Cavs, obviously, they were in a situation where they made tons of mistakes down the stretch, and the Pacers were able to take advantage. Taking advantage of the mistakes that your team makes, it's what the Indiana Pacers have just been able to do, which is why they are on the other side of some really, really team of destiny type of games. And it's unfortunate because I think a lot of Knicks fans probably thought this Knicks team was the team of destiny. But still, positivity. When we come back, we'll talk about how the Knicks can bounce back after game one. Okay, so it was a collapse of epic proportions, all of that jazz. But I agree with you. I do think that for the most part, they played a good game, and there are a lot of good takeaways. You mentioned it early, but no one was able to guard Jalen Brunson in this game. There wasn't a soul on the Pacers. I mean, they did try to trap him a little bit, be a little bit more aggressive in that second half, and I thought that did change some things, but for the most part, he took care of business. It didn't matter if it was Andrew Nembhard, if it was Aaron Nesmith, that didn't matter at this point. Your takeaway from the way both Brunson and Cat played, because I think Cat also took advantage of Miles Turner. He hit, 3 threes in that first half. He made 3 threes all series versus the Boston Celtics. So it felt like he was rejuvenated. How do you take that and kind of move forward to game two?
I mean, I'm doing my best, as I promise you, to not think about the final 3 minutes. But
yeah,
that's why it is an easy adjustment or spin on what you do better in game two. You close out. They did so much well tonight. That fourth quarter stretch where Indiana was making their run and they cut it to 1.
Yeah,
I believe it was a 2-point game when Brunson left with his 5th foul. And I repeat, they had no answer for him tonight. The narrative of a Brunson stopper that Aaron Nesmith ever was one of those was always kind of silly to me. Brunson got hurt and was a step slow.
He was clearly hobbled in that series.
He missed shots that he normally makes over the course of the final 5 games of that series. And in one of those 5 games, he had 43 points. And in another one of those 5 games, he broke his hand. So there was no stopping Jalen Brunson on Nesmith's part, and you saw it tonight, and it's why I understood Brunson trying to take over down the stretch, because throughout the night, he got to his spots, he got downhill, he got guys on his hip, and just did whatever he wanted in 2-point range. Missed his threes, but you can forgive it to an extent if you're doing everything right. And 43 points on 25 shots, and you get to the line 14 times. This was a formula for a great Jalen Brunson game. And to your point, we haven't seen a game like this from Cat, I'd argue, in months. I got to be honest. And it's not even a Cat thing. I've not seen him be guarded solely by centers.
Right. He saw this and said
in months.
Barbecue chicken. Yeah. He really likes the Miles Turner matchup. He enjoys that. Yeah.
Well, so not just the Miles Turner matchup, but I'm sure you know this. Teams have been putting their biggest wing on Cat and their center on Josh Hart since January. So the fact that the Knicks went into this series, and one of our questions throughout our previews was, how are the Pacers going to guard it? Are we going to go Siakam onto Cat? Are we going to go, maybe you realize what Nesmith is, or that's really the only option. It's Nesmith or Siakam, or you just go with Turner. And Cat cooked the majority of the night. And I got to be honest, there's a defensive portion of this where if you get him in space, that's always been a problem for him. When you have a guard like Haliburton or like Nembhard and Cat's up in the air, or honestly, just go back to the last 2 series when Cade is on him, or at times when Derek White or Drew Holiday or even Jaylen Brown would get downhill. That's where you have trouble with Karl-Anthony Towns. Right. And it's either an automatic foul or a direct path to the rim. If you take the space away, and this is what Minnesota did last year, you put him on Jokic and just say, be big. Be a big body. Yeah. And you saw Siakam's trying to back him down, and Cat's only block tonight was when that was the formula. And as long as you make it a half-court game, and the Knicks went to their double big lineup, which built a 16-point lead, Like, that's the formula. And that's how you're going to be able to make Cat not be a liability on defense throughout this series. So you have, look, the process to the positive spin zone is very simple.
Yeah.
You built a 16-point lead on this team, a 14-point lead with 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then, like, the sky caved in.
Yeah.
Put an umbrella up next time.
Yeah, you know what?
You're good.
This is the funny part about this. I think if you're the Knicks, the hardest part about this is the mental aspect. And this is a really, really tough team. Very, very resilient team. And I think the mental aspect of like just chalking this up to 1 in 970 were the odds basically for this Pacers team to win that game. And you had executed perfectly for the first 40 minutes. Chalk it up to that and then just move on, right? And move into game 2 and say, hey, we did this well. You mentioned the bigs, the Mitchell Robinson, Karl Anthony Towns duo. They were plus 14 in the 10 minutes that they played. It was massive. The size advantage was really, really apparent. You saw it on the offensive rebounds. Knicks were crashing the glass. I think that's an interesting wrinkle to this because Indiana is so prone to getting out in transition. They do not care about getting that, kind of grabbing the rebound or crashing the offensive glass as much as possible. So they're trying to get out in transition. They're not getting the defensive rebounds. Knicks can take advantage there. And that's a wrinkle that I think can be leaned on a little bit more. I think you'd want more Mitchell Robinson. And I'm sure that you feel that way from the Knicks side too. More Mitch Robinson moving forward. In the series. Yeah.
So there is a motor thing with Mitch. I have no idea what he can give you as far as the more is concerned. I've said just start at 20 minutes and inch your way closer to 25 as you can. Deuce McBride, a massive plus tonight.
He was great. Yeah.
He finished plus 12
Knicks
in a game they lost by 3.
Was really, really good in this
which
game.
Is ironic. Knicks bench is 2.5 players and they're still pretty good tonight. But Deuce gets his Karl Anthony Towns and Deuce McBride in their 14 minutes together are plus 24. It's a lot of it has to do with that fourth quarter.
That 14-0 run, right.
Right. Yeah. So look, the numbers off the charts have been off the charts when Mitch has been in the game, when Deuce has been in the game. It's really just this mediocre starting 5 that the Knicks have had to navigate this year, which, it goes back to Thibbs, but I really don't have any smoke for Thibbs after this. It's the challenge in the third quarter, but I understood like that's Brunson's fourth foul, and you want to try and take it away. Maybe leaving Brunson in after he picks up a 4th foul so he could pick up a 5th. Is a tough call. So, or whatever. I think I'm blanking. I think it was actually his 3rd foul, and so you challenge it so he doesn't get to 3. Regardless,
right. Yeah,
I didn't see enough on my first replay to challenge it, and I think he should have took a note from what not to do from the Pistons series with JB Bickerstaff and how many times they kept using their challenge when it was at best marginal. He'd have a chance to win it. That's
something that, like, I think every shout out to Rob Mahoney of The Ringer. He's mentioned this. He has like a challenge process for teams. You need to do that. Like, there is no reason to have a first or second quarter challenge. Keep it locked, right? Keep it tucked in. You don't need it at that point. And so I think that's an interesting part of this. I do want to talk about and this is the final thing we can mention before we head out of here.
Yeah, of course.
If you're looking forward to game 2 for the Knicks and what they have to do against Indiana, is it just do you think a lineup change is even possible for this Knicks team? Do you think they do that at all? Because I know Thibbs is one of those guys that will not do it, but I'm assuming you're just not expecting anything of the sorts.
Well, so would I have changed the lineup months ago? Sure.
Yeah.
But again, the starting 5 has just been very average the majority of the season.
Yeah.
And it's why we're talking about the Deuce minutes, the Mitchell Robinson minutes. And that's how the Knicks are going to win their margins in this playoffs and through this run. And we've seen it all throughout the playoffs. Look, I thought they should have changed their starting lineup after game 3 against Boston. I thought they should have changed their starting lineup after game 2 against Detroit. And they made it to the conference finals and were up by 14 with 3 minutes left. So I don't think after a game 1 loss that ripped your heart out and took, again, all of the things to be a collapse, that you make a radical change like that. But man, as far as what I'm looking for in game 2, you mentioned it. It's mental. if they clearly look like a team that is battling with the realization that they now have to win 5 games in this series because you already blew one.
Totally. Yeah.
Then everything has to be on the table.
You have to win 5 games because you're facing the Indiana Pacers, and they somehow do this in every series where they're able to get involved in whatever game is there. They are relentless. They just do not give up on the game. They didn't let go of the rope in this one, and they ended up winning it. And switching is an interesting concept that I'm very, very curious about for the Knicks. It's like, will they go to the switching more often? I feel like it worked in the second half for the most part. And I think that's something they can lean on. The double big lineups, something that you're interested in. I think for both teams, they can play bigger a little bit. At the end of the day, Andrew, just chalk it up to it being one of the craziest, most insane games you've ever watched in your life. And I'm sorry that you can't experience it as an impartial fan.
No, I can't. I can't experience it as crazy or unbelievable.
Yeah. I know.
It's heartbreaking is what it is. And for the rest of the series, if they win game 2, it's like, oh, you should be up 2-0. If they lose game 3, it's like, oh, this still should be up 2-1.
Yeah.
The entire calculus of the series changes.
Yeah.
And it's why it's up to Thibbs. It's up to this captain, Jalen Brunson. It's up to the guys that have been telling Knicks fans throughout the playoffs, believe in us. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to earn that belief that you could come back from this. Because if you do, my goodness, will you have earned it? Because you're coming back from one of the lowest points in franchise history now. And that's just the reality of what they're up against over the rest of the series.
We'll finish. This is the final thing, I promise.
Of course.
Where does Tyrese Haliburton rank on the most hated / respected opposing player thing for Knicks fans, especially after the choke? Where does he land?
Figures he does it after the shot goes in, not realizing that it's a 2-pointer.
It's a 2-pointer.
He only needs something to happen first before the front runner decides to actually make some. Listen, you wear the Reggie Miller hoodie after Game 7, not in the tunnel on the way to Game 7. It's just the reality. You can be the wrestling heel, but you have to wait until the 3 count is already up. Right?
He does a great job of being the heel.
I know the rest of the country thinks he's adorable, and I do respect him as a basketball player. The reality is that the Knicks should have won this game despite Tyrese Haliburton hitting a crazy shot. And for the majority of this game, they largely contained him. So as far as where he ranks, he's annoying. He's not a villain to me. The Knicks lost this game. Tyrese Haliburton didn't. It's almost disrespectful to Reggie Miller to put him in the conversation.
It's just a temperature check.
Reggie Miller, a career 26-41 against the New York Knicks, and lost way more than he did at home in Madison Square Garden than he did win.
This is why we brought you on here to
this narrative. And don't get me started on Trae Young, who is 7-18 against the Knicks in his career. Oh, let's add the 5 playoff games, right? So the 4-1 he went against the Knicks, so we're at 11-19, and we have to go to 4 wins in the playoffs against Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton, and Nerlens Noel.
Wow.
Yeah, you got me.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't wait for game 2. This is already stacking up to be an all-time series. Again, folks, if you didn't watch the game, just go and watch the highlights. Go just maybe not Knicks fans, but anybody else, just go watch the highlights and enjoy, because it genuinely was one of the greatest games I've watched. And I apologize once again, Andrew Claudio from Knicks Film School, for rubbing it in. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for everybody who has listened to the Athletic NBA Daily today. Thank you to Andrew Schlecht for producing, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.